Hello and welcome everybody in this our family reunion and weekly follow-up session for universal human values. Welcome all the panel member and all the participants for the same. Welcome Arjun Bhaiya, Namaste.
Welcome, Bhaiya. Namaste.
Namaste, Namaste. So today we are going to discuss about the nature, harmony in nature. Yes, nice. So again, formally welcome you all and invite Arjun Bhaiya to take up the session. Yes, over to you. Namaste.
Namaste to all, sir.
जी, नमस्ते नमस्ते समीर भैया नमस्ते नमस्ते रंगनाथ जी नमस्ते
Sir,
रंगनाथ
namaste, namaste, sir. Namaste, namaste.
वेलकम नमस्ते
So,
So-
in today's session,
yes
हाँ जी बोलिए.
no it's okay
Yeah.
over to you please
हाँ. तो आज के सेशन में we'll talk about harmony in nature, interconnectedness, self-regulation, and mutual fulfillment among the four orders. Like we have seen that our basic aspiration is for happiness and prosperity. And we have also seen that the program for fulfillment of our human aspiration is via understanding harmony and living in harmony at all the four levels. So now in this session, we want to talk about harmony in nature and existence, and also look at the interconnectedness between these four orders: the human being, the family, society, nature, how they're all connected to each other. So again, we'll use the same process of self-exploration. So that helps us to refer to our natural acceptance and ask the right questions to our natural acceptance and then get the answers from within. So that would be the process to understand. So now, for everything, when we refer our natural acceptance, we can see that there's a certain pattern of how it works, that it is there inside us, and we're not having to refer to something outside to get the answer. So when we ask our natural acceptance as an individual, when we ask ourselves that do we want harmony within ourselves, and when we ask ourselves the same question, do we want harmony for our family, and again when we ask the same question, do we want harmony in the society, what is desirable to us, what is our natural acceptance? So what answer comes when you ask? Does it change depending on whether we are asking ourselves or asking on behalf of, like, looking at our family and saying that, like, we want harmony in the family or as society? Can we see that, like, the natural acceptance is able to expand all the way? We have that natural acceptance and it is for harmony as an individual also, as a family also, and as a society also. So you can just answer in the chat if it is desirable or not desirable at any of the levels, if harmony is not desirable at any of the levels, as an individual, as a member of the family, as a society. So next, now once we say that it is desirable, since the answers in the chat are coming as desirable, that answer is also coming from where, if you ask, it's coming from the natural acceptance, right? So now, next question is it possible to live in harmony at all these levels? So when we ask, is it possible or not possible, then in the chat, some answers are coming that it's possible, and some answers are coming that it's not always possible, maybe difficult. So if we look at it as possible or impossible, then you could say possible, maybe, right? Of course, it requires right understanding in the individuals and understanding the harmony so that we're able to be responsible towards all the four and then do our part for all the things in terms of understanding also and in terms of our action and living. So although it might look distant right now or difficult right now, if we just look at possible or impossible, then you could see whether it's possible or not. And what would be required to do that also we can discuss. But before that, we want to just see whether the design of nature is for harmony or for opposition. Like in school and all that, sometimes it was taught that that there is a struggle for the survival of the fittest and those kind of things, right? So um, is it actually like that, or is it something else which is not clear yet about how the actual system in nature is? Because a lot of our kind of education also, primary education and science and all that also, is based on certain things which are not very clear to scientists themselves, right? They keep discovering new things and adding them to the textbooks and all that. So when at that time there may have been this idea that uh, in nature there is a struggle for the survival. On the other hand, if you see the design of nature, then it becomes easier to understand how nature is actually set up and whether it is actually survival of the fittest or it is a system which is cyclic, which regenerates itself on a regular basis, and it has certain kind of different kinds of creatures made for different purposes which are complementary to each other. And if you look at the whole cycle, then you see the beauty, but if you see only a part of it, then you may not see the complementarity and the nature of how that cycle is working. So with these questions or with these kind of ideas which are not fully developed, we will try to look at nature and existence and try to understand the design of nature. And then after that, we will see how our human beings also fit in, and how all the rest of the plants and animals and how everything fits into the system. Right now, there's also one more misconception that human being is the top of the system or the most important in the system. So we'll just look at all these things. Right now, we won't conclude anything. And then we'll see. So when we say nature, we are talking as a collection of units, like different kinds of species, different kinds of plants, animals, different kinds of metals, non-metals, different kinds of all kinds of materials, the soil, then the humans also, right? So when we're talking about nature, then it's a collection of all these kind of units, right? There are so many different kinds of units. Broadly, if you see, these are the units. Like in trees, there'll be so many types of trees. Soil, there'll be so many types of soil. You have so many types of animals, so many types of metals, so many types of human beings also, right? So basically, if you look broadly, you can see that it's a collection of units. And now I think one hand is raised, so if there's a question we can take.
Yes, Didi, namaste. Ranid, we are not able to. Yeah, good evening, good evening. Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, will you please explain self in animal and self in, what is the difference between self in animal and self in human beings?
The main difference is that in the animal, the main thing within the self is the desire to live. We'll go through it in the next couple of slides. It will come, I think. Basically, like the desire to live is there in the animal, in the self of the animal, and the desire to live is there in the human being also. But along with that, there is also a desire to know. So not only to survive, but also to to know about the whole existence. So even if the desire of to know is not very strong in somebody, even then you can see that the person wants to be happy, right? The human being wants to be happy and prosperous, but the animal is just wanting to survive. So we can see these differences. Like the human being has the potential to know also. The animal doesn't have the potential to know as an animal, to know about the reality. So some differences are there, but the common point is that both the animal, the self of the animal also, and the self of the human being also have a strong will to live. So that is the common point in both of them. And the knowing is there in the human being, which is not there in the animal, in the self of the animal. And the desire to live with this continuous happiness and prosperity is there in the human being, in the self of the human being, but it's not there in the self of the animal. The animal is just looking at filling his stomach and, you know, um, not looking at trying to know something further, and also not with the view of continuous happiness and prosperity. So now, when we categorize these units, we categorize them into these four orders: the physical order, then the bio order, then the animal order, and the human order. So the physical order contains the things like soil and metals and non-metals and these kind of things. The bio order contains trees and shrubs, these kind of things. Animal order, animals and birds, and human order is human beings. So if you see all those units, they can be classified into these four orders. So all these four orders have slightly different characteristics. When we look into the characteristics of these four orders, then we'll see one by one what is the difference. And before looking at the difference, we'll just look at how they are interdependent on each other. Like earlier I just mentioned that the process in nature is cyclic, and it's been designed in such a way that when you see the whole cycle, then you can see the harmony inside, harmony, how it is organized. So when we look at these two orders first, the bio order and the physical order, we can see that physical things are there, right? So when we look at that and when we look at the plants, then we see that the plants use the soil to grow. Like the soil is like the bed for the plant to give fruit also and to make the roots go deeper. So the actual plant is growing down inside the soil. So the soil is what is creating the foundation for the plant, for the trees, for the plants. So in that way, we can see that the plant is taking the support of the soil to grow. And on the other hand, you can also see that the plant is also being, like the plant is already being enriched by the soil, but at the same time the plant is also giving some fruit, giving some leaves which shed, and that is also going back into the soil. It's getting decomposed and going back into the soil, so that enriches the soil. So that means the plant is also contributing to better soil. So that way, if you see, both of them are helping each other. Like the plant is helping the soil and the soil is helping the plant. The soil is helping the plant to grow and the plant is helping the soil to be enriched. So in that process, then if there is no disturbance, then it will keep going. So like in a forest, it keeps going. There is no problem. Trees grow and trees die also. But the forest still looks very dense. So that is because the system is made such that it is mutually enriching also. Not only cyclic, but mutually enriching also. So there is mutual fulfillment. And there's a relationship between the two, being related and fulfilling each other's requirement. So the requirement of the soil is being fulfilled by the plant, and the requirement of the plant is being fulfilled by the soil. So in the same way, you can see that everything in this order, everything in the physical order is interdependent on the bio order, and everything in the bio order is interdependent on the physical order. And every unit is enriched in this process. So you can see that it's a cyclic process. Every unit is enriched, and there is a mutual fulfillment happening. From both sides, there is a mutual fulfillment happening. Now, when we add the animal order, then you can see that the animals sometimes, like the herbivore animals, they take the plants, they eat the plants, and the carnivore animals, they eat the herbivore animals. So carnivore animals don't eat carnivore. So this is also by design, right? There are also omnivore, but that is in a minority in comparison to herbivore and carnivore. So all these numbers and all that, you can see how beautifully it's designed in such a way that it maintains the harmony. And the animals are enriching mm, the bio order by giving cow, like how cow gives cow dung, cow urine. You can see how all that is used as manure. So not only cow, but every animal gives some or the other thing in the form of dung or in the form of skeleton. After they die also, it goes back to the soil. So animal is enriching the soil also once it goes back to the soil. Animals are walking on the soil also. which is like making movements in the soil, which is enriching the soil, moving it up and down. So that way animals enrich the soil. And like that, you can see the interconnectedness between all the three now. That there's a relation between all the three. And each one is helping each other. The animals are, and the trees also. The plants are also helping the physical order. You can see the whole cycle is there. So up till here, you can see that everything is cyclic and every unit is being enriched in this process. There's nothing being left out, or there's nothing being not catered to, because the design is such that wherever there's a wherever there's a need for something, then there'll be one of the other two which can help it to come back to normal, help it to get enriched. So in the forest, the same thing happens, that there are birds, there are tigers, leopards, all these things are there. But if you leave the forest for a long time also, the trees don't die, it doesn't become like barren land. The animals also don't get extinct, and they don't become too much in number also. So to maintain that balance, there is herbivore and carnivore, so that the balance is maintained. So it's not about struggle, it's about maintaining that balance in the system, maintaining the harmony. Because, for example, if there are too many, say, uh, herbivore, then also it may be a problem. If there are too many carnivore, also there may be a problem. And therefore, the lifespan also of all these animals and things is designed in such a way that everything is uh, has the right amount. So basically, you can see that every unit is being enriched in this process, and every order is helping the other order, and this process is cyclic. So there is interdependence. Each one is interdependent on the other, and it keeps going cyclically. So there's no break in any of these processes. And now the fourth order is the human being. So now when it comes to the human being, we have to see whether we are contributing to the other three orders or only taking from the other three orders. Like when we consume food, some people consume vegetarian food, some people consume non-vegetarian food. When you're consuming vegetarian food, you're taking from the bio order. When you're taking the non-vegetarian food, you're taking from the bio order plus the animal order. And in terms of the physical things, like all our gadgets and all these things are made out of the physical order, right? Like phones and laptop and all these things. So we are taking all those things from the physical order also. Like our bed is made of wood. Wood is actually part of bio order. It's part of trees. But when we say like metal, iron and all this, that is part of the physical order. So we are taking different things from all these orders. But in terms of our contribution to these three orders, there are question marks, because the question is, are we helping? Like suppose we have consumed a non-vegetarian food, or suppose we have um, taken some wool or some animal product, then have we done anything to the harmony is maintained, or have we only taken? So same with the plant order. that have we only consumed the food, or have we also grown some food which is of equal amount, so that it becomes like the same, so it becomes in harmony. And same with the physical order, that whatever we have taken in terms of all these metals and things, like if we have a car, or if we have a bike, or if we have a house, all this is made of the physical order. So we can see how many things we've taken from the physical order itself. And then the question is, have we put anything back to the physical order? So in terms of the contribution of the human being to the other three orders, there are question marks. But the other three orders are still giving to uh, the human order. They are still giving all what they can give. So this is the situation right now. And the human order doesn't see this without the right understanding. But with the right understanding, there is a possibility for fulfillment such that the human being, there's actual contribution of the human being to all these three orders, the other three orders. So that is possible. Like, for example, if we have to contribute to the bio order, simple example is to grow trees, but there are many other ways to do things. Just for reference, you can say. But basically the system is like this, that all these four orders are there in nature. And now, as a human being, what is my role in this whole coexistence? That's what we're looking at now. So human beings, if you look at our natural acceptance will be to try to do something for it, right? Because we feel like we are part of this system, and for us to actually fit in properly and be a useful link in this chain such that it enriches all the other three orders, the human being would have to have the right understanding about this, so that they're able to see the role of the human being in maintaining this harmony. Because if you only take, it leads to all these problems like the resource depletion and all these things which we already know about, like the pollution and the quality of the water, quality of the air, quality of soil. All the things goes down. They're not getting it back. They're only like losing their what they have. So once human beings understand this, then they can be fulfilling for the other three orders and also for the human order. Because right now the human order has this issue also, that there is fighting between human beings also. It's not that there's harmony in the human order. In the human order also there is conflict, right? Within the human order also. You don't find that in any of the other three orders. Like, you don't find uh, two animals of the same species fighting with each other. And if they're of different species also, that is according to the natural design. But in humans, the natural design is to follow the natural acceptance. So if we follow the natural acceptance, then we can ensure harmony within the human order. And then according to our natural acceptance, when we do things for the other three orders also, we'll be in harmony with all the three orders, all the three other orders, and our human order as well. So that is what would be desirable, right? So now we want to look at the characteristics of these four orders. If you look at the physical order, like the soil, metal, these kind of things, so that means when they recognize some input or some stimulus, then according to that they fulfill. So like if the soil is there and you pour water on it, then the water seeps into the soil. So that is because the soil recognizes that this is water and then fulfills its job of what it does with the water. So it lets it go into the soil, and that is the process. Like it recognizes whatever is there and it fulfills. It fulfills according to its natural system of how it fulfills. When you look at the bio order, the plants and the trees, they also have a similar process that they recognize the input, whatever input is coming, and then they fulfill. So if a plant is there, if there is an input of sunlight, then they might tilt a little bit towards the sun to get that sunlight. Or if there is some water is poured near the plant, then it goes into the soil and it goes to the roots. Then when the roots get the soil get the sorry when the roots get the water, then they go into the roots and then they go all the way up and they feed the plant and all that happens. So that is the natural fulfilling process, natural way of how the plant is fulfilling that input. It's recognizing that this is water, and then it is doing what it has to do with that water according. So that's called recognizing and then fulfilling. So in the physical order and bio order, it operates like that. There is recognizing and fulfilling. In the animal order, along with recognizing and fulfilling, there's also assuming. So that means they assume something, like uh, they are able to sense certain things, how we say. Then they assume based on that, and then they recognize, and then they fulfill. And then, yeah, this also is there, that the presence of self is there in the animal. It's not there in the plant, it's not there in the soil. So although they don't have self, it doesn't mean they don't have consciousness. They are conscious, but they don't have a self. Because self has the capacity of knowing if it is associated with the human body. But if it's associated with the animal body, then it has only the process of assuming. It doesn't have the process of knowing. It doesn't have that activated inside that. So assuming, recognizing, and fulfilling is what happens in the animal order. That's the characteristic. And in the human being, there is also the possibility for knowing. Along with all these three, there is also the possibility of knowing. So human being also assumes many things, and based on those assumptions recognizes those inputs and then fulfills. But there's also possibility for knowing. Like example of this assuming for the human being is, suppose the human being is walking and he sees somewhere there is water ahead, and then when he goes there, if it's actually not there, then It's just that he has assumed it, but then it was not actually there. And on the other hand, he could have assumed it and it could have been there also. So the assumption can be right or wrong. That is dependent on the person's a lot of other things that we won't get into right now. That depends on a lot of other things. But in the human being, you can see that this assuming is there, but there's also a possibility of knowing. And when the human being knows something, then his assumption doesn't change from time to time. Then it becomes fixed. If the human being knows certain thing, then for that, what he knows, for that, there's no need to assume something else. So therefore, the assumption becomes definite. And then the recognizing and fulfilling also becomes definite. But if the assumption is, if the human being doesn't know, then he has to assume, and the assumption may be right or wrong. So if you see the animal and the human being, the animal also has self plus body. The human being also has self plus body, but there's a difference in the self of the animal versus the self of the human being. Both have the desire to live, but the human being has the possibility for knowing, which and the physical order, they don't have self or body, right? So these are the characteristics of these four orders. And now, since we have seen that previous chart where we saw that the other three orders are in harmony, and only the human being is, only taking and not giving back to the other three orders, then we are able to see a different picture of the evaluation of the human being. Like in the society right now, the human being is evaluated as the top, and then after that comes everything else. Like the human being is trying to be the boss of everything else, boss of nature, boss of the animals, the plants. The human being is taking decisions about how to use the animals, how to use the plants, how to use everything, how to take from everything, thinking that all these things are for the enjoyment of the human being, without realizing that the human being is the one who would suffer the most when um, you know when all these three stop supporting the human being. So right now there is possibility of harmony in these four orders only if the human being has the right understanding and has the right evaluation of what is the human being actually in this whole picture. If the human being is actually on the top, or if the human being is a part of this system who is blessed with this possibility of knowing and all these developed mind, developed brain, which is much more developed than the animal, and so many more characteristics, so many more features. But at the same time, to also realize that the other three orders are actually supporting the human order, and even if one of these orders is wiped out, then the human order is also going to be wiped out. So like if there is no soil, then there is no tree, there is no animal, then human being cannot live, right? So to put it in perspective, it's important to see that the human being is not at the top of this whole thing. The human being is a part of this nature, and if we are responsible, then we can contribute in the right manner so that we enrich the other three orders also, instead of only taking from them. And then we can maintain the harmony within these four orders, within the human order also, and the other three orders also. So these anyway people know about right now already, that there are problems in the nature. The resource depletion becomes very obvious now, because everything is being used for the comfort or the convenience of the human being, and it's not being looked at that this is uh, depleting the resources in the nature, the resources in terms of the plants, animals, and the physical things also, like this coal and petroleum, and all these things are actually meant to keep the earth in a proper temperature. But if everything is extracted, then the global warming and all these things are bound to happen, because the temperature doesn't, the earth doesn't have that temperature, the, and the pollution also, you can see that the air quality, the water quality, soil quality, all that is becoming worse because of the rate at which it's being taken, the rate at which this artificial things are being done. That rate is very high, and the rate of replenishing of these things is much slower. So if it doesn't return to the cycle, then it means it keeps becoming less and less. So that's what's happening right now. And if you see the quantity of the number of these units, then the human order is in the least quantity. Animal order is next, and then plant order, and then physical order. That is obvious to see also, right? That you can see the earth is 70% sea, water, and the rest is land, which is soil. That all comes under the physical order. And then next is the plant order. If plant order becomes less than animal order, then humans have a big problem. If physical order has a problem, then again, you can see clearly, right? Any of order is affected the most, because they are the most dependent. They are dependent on all the three orders. Like if you see the physical order, they are dependent on the plant order. I mean, everybody is mutually dependent on each other, but the human being is the most dependent on everybody else. Like if you see the plant order, the plant is dependent on the soil. If the soil is not there, the plant can't live. But for the human being needs all the three. So the human being is actually right now taking from all the three, but is not giving back equally to these three orders. So then obviously the survival of the human being is now about human order. If we look at the conduct, then it depends on their understanding. Based on their understanding, they take actions, and that comes out in their living. So if they have the right understanding, then they take the right decisions, and they support the other three orders. But without the right understanding, it's only exploiting the other three orders. if there's any, I think some hand was raised. If there's any question or comment, we can take that now.
Arjun, I have a question. When you showed the slides, know that animal order and the human order, animal order doesn't know, and the human order knowing is there. Can you give with an example? And in the bio order also, you told it is there is recognizing and fulfilling, no? So,
Yeah.
if it is with an example, it could be understood clearly. I'm not able to.
Which part?
This one. Bio order and physical order, it is recognizing and fulfilling. So what is it like that? And animal order, assuming, but in human order, you told there is assuming as well as knowing is also there.
There's possibility for knowing.
Knowing. That means human order can, whatever is right or wrong, that human order can understand. Animal order will not understand.
Animal order is also going by the recognizing and fulfilling most of the time. Like, for example, if they see the shadow of some tree or something, they might think, like, suppose a lion is there, he sees the shadow of a tree, he might think it's a deer and he might go after it.
Okay.
So like that, it's assumed that that might be a deer.
Okay.
So like that.
Like that. But in human order also sometimes assumptions come. But if the lion comes to know it is not the deer, then that knowing means what actually? That I didn't get. The animal doesn't know, but human
Knowing
beings
means
can.
you can take it as the right understanding actually.
Oh, right understanding. Okay.
Knowing means the state where you have the understanding.
Okay.
Assuming means where you are not sure, where you don't know, but you are you believe something or you have some assumption about that thing. That is assuming.
So in bio order plants, they cannot assume also. That is also not there in the bio order.
Yeah.
Okay.
They respond to the stimulus.
So okay.
Like if you play good music, then sometimes they might move towards the leaves might move towards that music. Or if the sunlight is coming, then they might move their
towards
leaf towards the sunlight. So like that, they respond.
And
so
physical
they're responding because they're able to recognize that stimulus or that thing.
And how in the physical order they're able to recognize? Because it's a non-living thing, no?
In the physical, like it doesn't have to be a movement or something. Like in the physical also, like how I was saying that if you have soil and you put water on it, then it will seep into it. So that is a characteristic that it will go inside, because the soil is made in such a way that it will recognize this as water and then it will go inside. It will fulfill. But the same thing, suppose you put honey on the soil, then it will still go inside, but at a slower speed. Because it's recognizing it that, okay, this is honey, this is not water. So it fulfills in a different way.
Okay, Arjun, I understood.
Suppose a human being steps on the soil, then it won't go inside because it recognizes that this is a human being. So it fulfills in a different way.
Okay. These are new things. Okay, thank you.
Sir, may I have put forward, sir, my doubts, sir?
Sure.
I'm Ranganath, sir. Sir, regarding regeneration, either in the animal order or plant order or bio order, sir, is it temporary, sir, once or repeated whenever damage occurs to it, sir?
You mean to say the cyclic process?
Yes, sir. Regeneration, sir.
Yeah, the cyclic process keeps continuing. So as long as we don't disturbing that process, it becomes harder and harder depending on the amount which we
Yes.
have disturbed it. Like
Yes.
if you go to a forest, and if you cut one tree over there, then the
Sir.
forest can there's no problem. Suppose you
Yes.
cut 10 trees over there, then there's a little bit of it takes a little more time to get back to that same thing.
Yes.
If it's a
Sir.
small forest, suppose you cut the whole forest and you make it barren land,
Sir.
then it takes again like 50 years, 100 years to become a forest like that again.
A long time.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
it's cyclic. The process is cyclic, but depending on the amount of damage that we have done, depending on that, the regeneration part will be slower or faster.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Sir, I have
But
one more.
it has a fixed
Yes, sir. Good, sir. I have
sense
one more
that if
doubt.
we just leave things the way they are,
Yeah, yes, sir. I
then
understood.
it does it itself.
Yes, I
You
have
don't have
understood.
to do anything.
Yes, sir. I have one more doubt, sir.
Yeah.
So for these all disorders, the nature calamities like this soil erosion and this, what I say, tufans, which is spoils men and matter. That what's the role, sir, about the disordering the natures?
These are just in the nature there'll be so many things which are supposed to happen in a certain way, and
Sir.
then when there's a disturbance, then if they still have to happen in that way, then it may lead to some side effect like this.
Oh, sir.
Like if
Yeah.
while it's going on, while it's supposed to go in a certain way,
Yeah, we have.
there's a
You have.
Mostly it's because of the human disturbance.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You have said.
But then it's still called natural calamity because the humans haven't understood it, I think.
Yes, sir.
Maybe that's why.
Yes.
But it's, if you leave things the way they are, like if you leave the forest the way it is, then nothing happens.
Sir. Yes.
But if some things are like the trees are cut and all that, then the global warming is happening.
Yes.
Now we can't call it a natural calamity. Or same with the floods. The floods also which may happen.
Yes, human errors, we can say, sir.
Yeah. Because the human being without the right understanding doesn't understand the interconnectedness between the other three orders.
It's a wonderful,
and tries to dominate on the other three orders.
Exactly.
Therefore, because of that,
yes,
the consequence happens.
Sir. Yes, sir. What you have said, the air pollution, water.
But if we just leave it.
Yes, yes, sir. You have said
just
that.
Leave it the way it is, and it will, on its own, it will be in harmony. Because it's already in harmony. The other three orders, we saw, right? The other three orders are already in harmony. We don't have to do anything to make them in harmony.
Yes, true, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, I have understood, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Human being also, with the right understanding, is in harmony.
Yes, sir. Individual.
Without the right understanding, there is conflict within also, conflict with the other human beings also, and conflict with all the other three orders also.
Can I say to my student that the human attitude should be changed to change everything, sir? No?
You can say right understanding, right? Because it's about understanding.
Sir.
Understanding the coexistence between different orders.
Yes.
Understanding the interdependence between all the four.
Yes.
That without one, you can see that the other doesn't work.
Yes. True, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So all the four orders have definite conduct, and even the human order has definite conduct with right understanding. But without right understanding, the human order has indefinite conduct because it's based on assumptions, and assumptions may change from time to time. and therefore the action outside also may change from time to time. So that would be the main source of the problem, and the main solution is also to ensure the right understanding or understanding the harmony. So for understanding this harmony, if you ask what is the process, it would be through the human education and sanskar. Incorporate these kind of proposals and to share all this information also in as many places as we can, so that it helps people to understand, and at the same time work on ourselves also, so that we are able to rightly utilize our skills, so that we are able to support the other three orders also. So education can be a medium to reach other people, and to reach ourselves also. More and more self-study or self-exploration can help to clarify the things within, so that we are able to contribute outside also meaningfully. So there are some hands raised, I think, but time is up. Maybe one comment or
Yes, I think Silka ji had unmuted a while ago. Perhaps anybody else would like to interact. You have the mic, or you may raise your hand. Welcome.
Hello, am I audible?
Voice are little feeble, Didi. If you're using any headphone or mic, can try without that.
I disconnected.
Yeah, no, a bit okay. Now a bit okay. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good refreshing session, sir. Content was refreshed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Didi.
thank you.
Do you have any query or that?
No, no, sir. It is
Please.
crystal clear.
Nice. Bhavna ji also there. Had posted on chat also. So Bhavna ji would like to add something or would like to share something. Namaste. Our very regular and very punctual Vasari Didi is also with us. Yeah, Jessie ma'am, namaste. Namaste, Jessie Didi, welcome. You have the mic, kindly unmute. Jessie Didi. Namaste.
Actually, I had a personal doubt. Is the term self, how will they express it in Malayalam? Anybody who could help me?
Voice is breaking a bit. Have you got Arjunji? What?
No, I couldn't hear properly.
Yeah. This is kindly repeat one more time.
She wants
so that is why my doubt was that is the self, the term self. How could we express it in
No, I think we lost him. We lost her.
Okay, I think we'll close then.
Yeah, it's time also. So I like to pass my gratitude and thanks to Arjun Bhaiya for taking up this informative and interactive session, and all the participant and panel member for spending time for this. And we will meet again on Friday for holistic human health follow-up session on SIP module 2, and next Wednesday for this, and we'll continue this. And if you have any more questions, we would like to take it up. For that, with this, I would like to call it a day and Stay happy, stay safe, and keep exploring. Namaste, everybody. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.